Dog, I must be tripping. Why is it that the superhero is way more unlikable than the pink and the blue hair girl nowadays? What to do, ladies and dudes? Jabberjaw's in the booth. Vulgar Desperado on the mic. And today, for some things for you and your crew to talk about in your living room, we're going to go over some modern writing, rather modern depictions of the female hero, the female lead, female main character in our entertainment today. For if you're anything like me, and if you can't tell, you know I'm a huge fan of the fantasy, of the sci-fi genre, of superheroes, and all that jazz. And if you're anything like me, you grew up in an era where having female leads in this genre was kind of normal, and even desired, if you know what I mean. But nowadays, it's hard to be excited, no pun intended, for these chicks because they come with so much hate and baggage that it's not worth wasting your time or money on these products. Take the latest version of Wonder Woman's daughter, Trinity. Now, before I go into reading this cringe fest here, please do us a solid. Hit that like, hit that subscribe. We'd really appreciate it on the road to 1,000. Thank you very much. Now, peep the dialogue here. And mind you, this is her first appearance, her first time for audiences, her first time you're seeing her interact with John Kent and Damian Wayne. This is the first introduction. Okay, can't stress this enough, but this is the first time you are seeing and meeting this person. And think about that when they're telling you that this character is the new bee's knees. And this is what she had to say after being late. So she says, 12 deities, and that takes a little time. Please forgive me. I regret it so. And you didn't see me because I'm, I don't know, like better than all you at all the things. Is this news? That I don't regret, but you probably do, so I'm sorry about you doing the regretting if that helps. If it doesn't, that's not on me. Number 2. 3 trials, pain, skill, honor. Who wants to go in what order? Doesn't matter to me, but if you can't decide, I'm happy to do it for you. You know what? You boys are way too slow. In a few ways, let's just say Superman, pain, Batman, skill, me, honor. Cool? And finally, numero 3. Boys, if you'd like to stay behind and be all craven, that's perfectly fine. Don't be ashamed or anything. Sadly, I don't have time right now to dig a hole in the sand for you to stick your heads in, so you'll have to do that part on your own. But rest assured, I have full confidence in your ability to get it done. Now, I don't want to spend too much time talking about her character and story, but rather use this as a jump-off point to show that for some reason, some writers think that women are, I don't know, at their best when they're bitches and off-putting. Many characters like her in recent years just come out the gate with these smug and rude attitudes that's usually directed at men, and for some reason people think this is either acceptable or even logical. No man, and let's be real, no woman would let someone talk to them as she does here. It's rude, and if it wouldn't turn into an argument, realistically speaking, people would not interact with someone who talks to them like this. Now, I don't know why this seems to be the norm for a lot of Marvel and DC products nowadays, but I am happy to see that not all modern entertainment shares these sentiments, and it can in fact write characters without the bitter chip on their shoulder. Which leads me into Arcane, League of Legends. Now, I've never played League of Legends, not really my thing. I'm not big on mobile games or a lot of games like that, whatever those type of games are called. It's not really my jam. But I was looking for something new to watch. CG animation is kind of where it's at right now. And, this is kept popping up on Netflix and it didn't look too bad. So I was like, all right, I'll give this a try. While I haven't finished the show yet, it's only like 9 episodes. I'm kind of enjoying the slow burn here because it's an actual good show. One thing that I couldn't help but notice was how well written both characters were, in particular Vi and Jinx, proving that in modern TV and on Netflix that it is possible to write women, and I can't stress this enough, non-toxic and actually likable, mainly in regards to how they treat or rather speak to men. If you take Marvel and DC, they, for whatever reason, seem to need to have some male bashing speech or some oppression lecture or some display of potential sexual violence. And context is key here. It's not like these subjects have not been explored in the fantasy, sci-fi, or superhero genre, but in recent days, it's always off-putting, ill-timed, and unnecessary to the main story, and a terrible depiction of men. And let's be real here. This kind of attitude only entices fear and validates anger in certain individuals when they watch this shit. Here in Arcane, though, even with a chick that is more masculine like Vi, she's not driven by the same old tired of narrative of man bad, they keep me down. No, she not only works with them and leads them like within her childhood friends, but she has respect for them like with her father figure Vander. And overall, even though she's admittedly a little bit more stereotypical gay, she likes dudes, or at the least she doesn't hate them as a whole, as what has become the norm in many TV shows and movies. She also isn't a Mary Sue, and I think that's very important. She gets the shit kicked out of her, and she can give it right back. To be honest, with her short pink hair and boyish-like ways, I honestly expected another demonic feminist lead character, but honestly, I was surprised by her depth and heart. And while I do think there is a fair and valid argument about just because she's tough or tomboyish, doesn't necessarily mean that the character has to always be gay, but that's a whole nother video in and itself. I can respect and like the fact that she's simply not a bitch that's trying to be a toxic male. That is, all the points to Gryffindor for that. In a prior video, I mentioned how Gal Gadot, the former Wonder Woman, talked about how these studios just gender swap characters and they don't acknowledge how men and women are different. And I think Vi is a perfect example of this because even in her tomboyish ways, she has a big and caring heart, like a woman normally has. And this is greatly exemplified, greatly shown in her care for her sister and love for Jinx. Now, Jinx is kind of like her sister in the sense that when I initially saw her, I was like, all right, so this is going to be the blue hair feminist one, right? Like, this is who her character type is going to be. But similar to her sister, I was also greatly surprised in the depth and arc of her character. Mostly because it was gut-wrenching and sad. I mean, killing your friends and your, quote-unquote family, getting your new name by killing your friends and family, like, that's some good shit right there. And what made it interesting is, the trauma that she carries from that, like how that kind of rears its ugly head. It was very fascinating to watch. It's honestly an awesome arc that sure can be done through the lens of a male figure, but I think it's better exemplified through a young girl. The emotions that are brought to the forefront from her story are better through a girl's lens because the emotions are more raw and open. Whereas if a male character might be more closed off, totally embracing the darkness like Anakin from Star Wars. Here, Jinx's daddy issues or attachment issues to the main villain, Silco, in my opinion, are a better arc or at least better exemplified through a woman. Have her end up instead like a Kylo Ren. You embrace the darkness, you stab your daddy. Here, you get to see her teeter-totter back and forth. Who is she? You kind of see her get a little bit manipulated, but, the damage is there, so it makes her act a little wild. And I think that is, again, better exemplified, not impossible, but better exemplified through a woman than a man. And Jinx, like her sister, also isn't with the male bashing and still retains a feminine mystique to her, which is obvious through her design and body language. Again, if you look at the way she kind of cuddles up to old Silco over there, you'll kind of know what I mean. And again, proving that you can be quote-unquote a badass or a girl boss or whatever the fuck term they want to use, and obviously be more ladylike, but, not necessarily in her manners. She's not a very polite person, if you will, but you can be obviously more feminine. You can be obviously a girl and caring and loving without it having to be toxic and off-putting. Now, one could argue that a made-up society or setting like in Arcane allows for a more equalized society where some of the issues that we face in real time, in the real world, don't need to be addressed in the show. Whereas IPs with a somewhat realistic at times setting like comic books, i.e. New York, Spider-Man, seem to have to touch these topics or issues in today's era of storytelling. And I would argue and make the point that, hey, maybe that's why more shows should stop being A, set in the past or during real world events, and B, should stop using old IP to make new shit and just create new shows altogether. But besides that point, this show here, Arcane, here proves to me at least that it's not a lost art. That yes, people can still make likable, non-toxic, man-hating women in entertainment, which is a good thing. Because truly, the biggest problem in the culture war isn't the fans, it's the studios and quote-unquote creators that push the division agenda. And forget that generally speaking, we all like each other and are meant to work and live and love together. So hey, if you're like me and you do like action shows with female leads but are over the hatred of men that's in the forefront of so many shows, check out Arcane if you haven't already. It's pretty popular. I'm probably late to the show on this one. But if you're anything like me and you're looking for something new, and again, you actually do enjoy your female lead action fantasy genres, definitely check out some Arcane League of Legends. You know, you're not going to go wrong here. I think it's a perfect example of what is kind of wrong with the culture war. Sometimes we can't tell based off of first initial looks what is good, what's going to be woke, what's not going to be woke. And it's definitely an exemplifier that, hey, new stuff is maybe where it's at in some regards, and that maybe some of the old IP, our Marvels, our DCs, our Disney, maybe they're a little lost to the winds. Kind of time for some new blood out here, because these old stuff, they can't get over the man hating. They have to push this girl boss division agenda. And honestly, in something as like Arcane, where I'm looking at a chick who looks like she would be the girl boss lesbian bitch, is not that whatsoever. Actually likable characters, actually a good enjoyable time, nothing eye roll inducing. You can't go wrong there. And I think that's what most people want more than anything, is actual fun, likable, cool, realistic characters. Not whatever the fuck a Trinity is, but you know what it is. Jabberjaw's in the booth, Vulgar Desperado. Please hit that like and subscribe on your way out, and we'll catch you on the next one. Peace.